how you've watched over us and blessed us, Lord, and all the good things you've done. We want to let you know we really appreciate it. The more we learn about you, Lord, the more we're just in awe and feel so small and helpless in ourselves, Lord, as to who you are and then what we are, Lord. And just thank you for all you've done. Thank you for your plan of salvation, the gift of your Son, Lord. And I ask you now, we have some that are they're sick ones, Lord. There's afflicted, Lord. There's those who are in need. There's those who are in depression, Lord. And then we got our brothers and sisters overseas in wars, Lord, who are just trying to survive, Lord. We just ask you, Lord, to take all of them in your arms, Lord, and show them your love and your grace and your comfort and your mercy, and draw them close to thee, Lord, and help souls to see their need of thee, Lord. Help us today as we learn of you. Lessons, be at the after service, Lord, as we have songs of praise, Lord, and then the message, Lord. Help us to give our all, Lord, to do everything for acceptable worship unto thee, Lord, and to take what you have for us to apply it to our lives, Lord, so that we can be better, stronger for thee, and be able to win souls, Lord. Thank you for all you do. In Jesus' name, amen. So we started 2 lessons ago starting to look at who God is and what God is, and that was really just an introduction, a little bit about what we were going to study on. And then last week we looked at, or the last lesson, we looked at the way God introduced himself the first time. When he told Abraham who he was, it was, I'm the God of. I'm the God of. And then when he got on down, you had Abraham and his sons, I'm the God of. I'm the God of your father. Isaac, I'm the God of Abraham. Jacob, I'm the God of Isaac and Abraham. Joseph, I'm the God of Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham. Well, it came time, Moses came along, and God calls Moses, shows him the burning bush, and starts to tell him, okay, Moses, I'm here. I want to lead my people out of this. I promised Abraham that I'd give his people, his descendants, I promised them I'd give them Canaan, and this is where they'd live, and they'd be my people. And this was a promise I made to him. And now you all have moved to Egypt because of need and famine and things, and that's okay. I told you to do that, but it's time to go back home. Well, how am I going to tell, who are you? How am I going to tell the people who you are? Because I am. I'm that I am. I'm the one of Isaac and Abraham and Jacob and Joseph. I'm that I am. That's who I am. It's like, oh. Because that was something, that was a way he could describe himself that they understood. And we talked a little bit last week, our last lesson, about how I am is something, a man tries to say it, but a man's talking about his little part in the world. God's I am is everything there is. It's the entire universe, all of creation. I'm that one. Yeah, that's me. Today we're going to look at that a little deeper from a little different angle, just because this is the way the Lord gave it to me, so it's the way I'm going to present it. But we started looking, and if we're going to learn who God is, we're going to learn his attributes. We're going to learn things about God. Because like we told, for those of you who are just visiting the class today, we told some of them last time, when you're growing up, and you guys will be much more aware of this intimately right now than we are. We're getting old enough, we're starting to forget. We are. But you know your mom and dad. And you have grown and lived with them long enough now and grown up under them that you know, without them even telling you, whether they're going to like something or not. You know whether they're going to accept something you want to do or not. And you're like, I don't even need to go ask mom. She's going to say no. And she hadn't said no yet. How do you know? How do you know that's what the answer is going to be? You know mom. Or you know dad. That's how we need to know God. We get to where we know God at that level, we're going to have a lot tighter relationship with him. We're not going to have so much problem fighting about whether I should do this, whether I shouldn't do this, whether it's okay to do this. We'll know God. And even if it's not black and white, I know my Father. He's going to want me to do this. He didn't say I had to. He's going to want me to do this. He would really be pleased if I did this. Well, he didn't say you had to. No, but that's my Father. That's what he wants. Or he ain't going to want me to do that. This ain't going to make him happy. But why? I'm not going to be able to win souls. And if I do this, this is going to hurt my ability to win souls. It's going to affect my testimony. God ain't going to want me to do it. That's how we're trying to learn God. So we're learning his attributes, the things about him that we can keep track of. This is who God is. And one of the first things we looked at, God is holy. He's so holy. He's so powerful and holy. Moses couldn't even walk on the ground where God was sending his presence through a burning bush. He said, you take your shoes off. That's holy ground. Don't you even come close. You take your shoes off right here. That's how holy he is. And they had the same thing whenever he came and dwelt in the temple. The priests could only go so far. They couldn't go no more unless God let them. His power and presence was so strong in the temple, they mostly couldn't. You'd read about times of it where the whole temple was completely filled with what appeared to be smoke. They couldn't even see to go back to the back. And there was nothing in there to cause smoke. It was God. He was so holy, they couldn't go back to the Holy of Holies. Only the high priest could even get there. And he better be right, or he couldn't live through it. It was so ingrained on them how important it was. You had to be perfect to come back before God. You had to have done everything possible to be ready to be in his presence. That the high priest, who was the only one allowed in the Holy of Holies, he wore a robe with bells and a rope tied around his ankle. If the other ones heard the bell stop ringing, they just pulled him out by the rope. He was dead. There's no room for error. See, we get in this life and we think, well, God will be okay with this. There was no room for error with the priest. What makes us think God's going to give us room for error? We better start really examining ourselves. There's not a lot of room to just make up your mind you want to do something and it ain't what God wants. We better know God. So that's what we're looking at today. And I have always found it interesting that Moses, who got it, he's the only one we know of who spoke to God face to face like a man. Like another person actually talked to him, and God spoke back in an audible voice. Not saying it didn't happen, that's the only one we know of. It's the only one it's written about, where God talked to him like a human. And he starts off his first writing about God in the beginning. Then you come down after Christ has come and gone, and John writes his epistle, the book of John. Now, if you study the writers of the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they each wrote about Christ with a purpose. And we won't get into that today because there's a lot to it. But they were each writing to a different audience, trying to tell a different thing. John's purpose was to make everyone aware Jesus was the Son of God. When you read the book of John, if you look at it and look at it through his purpose, that's what he was trying to do. He's trying to make everybody aware, this is God's Son. And you know how he starts off the first book of John? In the beginning. Just like Moses did. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Come on, we think some of the things in the Scripture are flexible. They're up for bid. Well, maybe they're okay, maybe that. The Word was God. He didn't just say it. That's Him. So getting an idea that something isn't important or something doesn't matter, you're telling God He doesn't matter. He is the Word. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him. And without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and life was the light of men. And the light that shineth in darkness, the darkness comprehended it not. They didn't even recognize who God was. So see, this is one of the things that came to me. Don't just ignore my word. That's me. It's not just something I thought or something I said. That is me. So does it mean something? Well, yeah, it means something. That's part of me. So, we want to learn about God. Let's go back and look. We're going to do the first book of Genesis. So let's go back there and we'll start there. We're going to have several attributes of God that we'll come across. I'm going to do this in little bits and slurbs here, but you want to learn God, let's learn about him. He's a little bit scary. He's so big, so powerful, he's a little bit scary. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light." And there was. Who else has that attribute? Who else has that power, that capability? Let there be. And there was. See, God's word is power. It is strength. When he speaks, what he says happens. No other being we're aware of any race or species, has the ability to say, "Let there be," and it just happens because they said, "Let there be." Oh yeah, man can command other men to do something, and they'll react to what he said, but he can't let there be into existence. This is who we're dealing with. We've got to get a sense of awe of who God is. He's able to speak what he wants to happen, and it happens. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And we're going to read down through here, and everything you're going to say, when God did something, when he said something and it happened, when he created something and it happened, it was good. Now, being that we're mostly human, everything we do, it ain't all good. Even when we try to do good, it ain't all good. We make mistakes. We mess up. We don't do it right. Whatever we do, sometimes it just didn't work. God doesn't ever have that. He says, "Let there be," and it was good. God is good. Remember, Christ said that. There's none good but God. He's good. That is him. Not he can do good. He is good. We need to get a deeper sense of who God is. There's things about him, things he is that we can't compete with to try to do as most worlds and religions are doing right now. They're trying to bring God down to a human level and make him almost another human ambassador for good. No, he's not. He is good. He's so much above what man is, man can't really hardly understand him. And if you've been, a lot of us have been in a situation where you've been in a super dark place or had an opportunity to go down in a cave. And they always do that. The tour guide always does the thing where they turn all the lights out. Then they'll light a candle, a match, maybe a little flashlight, something, to show you how even a little bit of light lights the whole place up. But man hasn't figured out how to separate the light from the darkness. When God says, or when man puts light out there, it just goes everywhere it goes. God says, light's here, dark's here, that's where we stop. Well, he did it with the tides. He made the oceans go out there and said, now this is where you can be. You can't come here. And you'll have these huge waves come in. I was reading something about it last week. They were saying these guys were out on a ship, said they seen waves that were 80, 90 feet tall. These things will come rolling in. You know what happens when they get to the boundary? The boundary of the coast? Boom. They stop. Why? God said that's all far you can go. Man would have to build walls and hills and everything to try to block it. God just says, stop. Come on, there's a difference. We have no comparison to God. No comparison whatsoever. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. In the evening and the morning, that cycle, that was the first day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. Let's divide the waters from the waters. The earth was covered with water when he first made it. He was telling the ground and the core of the earth, come up. Separate those waters out. Now we got some land up. Man's all worried that the water's going to cover the earth again. Oh, climate change, it's going to cause the water to rise and we're going to lose all these coasts and the water's going to take over. That water ain't going nowhere until God says it can. So this is why I don't get excited about this stuff, even though there's some science to back up some of the theories they have. And there is, we can't deny it, that's dumb. There's also a lot of science that says some of the theories they have are just stupid. But one of the problems they have, they don't trust God. If God said, this is the boundary, that's the boundary. It doesn't matter what man wants to do and how he wants to see it. It isn't going beyond what God said. He said the firmaments come up, boom, you're up. Waters, you're staying around there, you're separated. They're separated. Man has not figured out how to invent water out of thin air, so there's not enough water out there in thin air to cover the earth again. It doesn't exist. Because God said, this is it. God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which are above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. God created all these things, and we have a problem with it. Man thinks he knows everything about this earth. Everything about our existence, our universe, our solar system. They're only starting to begin to understand that there's a lot of other solar systems out there. And guess what? We're not the big one. God's a big God. He's not limited by us. We're just a little part of him, a little part of what he did. But God said, let it happen, and it was so. What God says happens. When God commands, there's nothing to stop it. There's no one to keep it from happening. When he says something, it is so. It's already done. We have a hard time with that. Man has a hard time just being honest enough to try to keep his word. God says something, it's so. Not just it's true, it happens. It did happen, it will happen. Whatever he says. If he's made a promise, if he's told you something, it is so. Come on, if you got down and prayed and asked the Lord and he showed you, I will do this. You can take it to the bank. It is so. It will happen. In his time, but it will happen. It is so. And we have a real hard time having faith with this. Come on. And it isn't just all, ministers have a hard time having faith with this. Pastors have a hard time with it. Brother Matt and I talked about there's a lot of pastors have a hard time with how to teach their people because they don't trust God. You can tell them what God told you to do. He'll deal with the rest of it. When he's ready, he'll show them what they need to have. And each one gets separately and individually if they need it. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered upon one place and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let this earth bring forth grass, and herb yielding seeds, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seeds after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself, and after his kind. And God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the third day. And you know what? You look at the fruit-bearing trees, they're still bearing fruit of their kind. Apple tree don't grow no oranges. Come on. Banana tree don't grow no pineapples. They grow their own thing, and guess what? They have their own seeds inside of them so that they can replenish and grow more of their own kind, just like he made way back. Man has yet to figure out how to do anything other than plant a seed and hope it comes back, grows and germinates and comes to life. He can't make it come to life, and he certainly can't create the seed. Even with all their knowledge of DNA and all that, they can't create a seed. But God said, let it be, and it was so. You know why? Because God gives life. Come on, he is life, he gives life. He can make life. He can give it out. Man can only live life. Man can't make it. He certainly can't give it. But God has it. He gives it. And when he gives it, you have it. See, this is God. This is so far above and beyond anything man can conceive, because God, with his life, all he has to do is say, have life. It starts growing. It works with humans. Come on. The whole method of conception and the way fetuses grow and become a human. Man can't make that happen. Man, they try it in a petri dish all the time. If we could make it happen in vitro fertilization, would work every time, and it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. But it's still God's life. He created the original embryos and the original seeds, whatever, all that. He created all that stuff. Man's just trying to put them together and get them to function. God said, let there be life. And there was. Well, we got to start getting back in who we're talking to. When we go to prayer, you got to start remembering who this is you're talking to. It's not just your buddy down the street. It's not the postman or the gas company man or somebody you call on the phone. This is God. It'll change your whole attitude of what you're asking for. Come on, it'll change our attitude of what's important, what we're asking him to do, what we're praying for. We're talking to God, the creator of the universe.
This is a little bit kind of what I thought. I'm going to go to politics for a minute. The news, it was all over there for Friday.
Mm-hmm.
When that Zelensky came into the White House, he was in field pants and a sweatshirt. And I know a lot of people, this is our society today. To me, I would have been right there with the president, the vice president. It was a lack of respect when he came into it. And he come to us, and it was almost, if you listen to that, it was demanding. I'm demanding this of you. I don't respect you, but I'm demanding this of you.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's, not everybody, but a lot of the left side is really upset that Trump just, no. You disrespected us? That's the attitude of the people of God today. And I just seen that Trump was in the position of power, and that guy needed something, and he had no respect for it. So he just sent him out.
And what did Trump say afterwards? If he comes back with the proper respect, we can talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Now, I'm not saying that Trump's God by any means.
Oh, no.
But that's exactly, that's how people, even Christian people, treat God. They're going to him with all their demands, what they need. And you're right on target. We forget. And he's got a great big picture. He sees outside of our problems. He sees outside of our wants. He sees outside of our needs. You and I going through a problem might be God trying to accomplish something else clear down the road.
Mm-hmm.
He wants everything for our good. He's good. God's good. He's not evil. Everything he does in our life is for good. But I just see that lack of respect, even in prayer. I hear people almost ordering God that he's to do. You know, just give him orders. And that scares me to death to give God an order.
It should.
And I mean, but I hear people doing it all the time. You know?
Even his servants who are really living for him, doing everything they know, like Paul said, have a godly fear.
Right.
He is not your buddy. Come on, he's not your next door neighbor, your best friend in that sense. He's God. He'll be a friend to you, but he's not your buddy.
In the book of Hinds Feet in High Places, if you've ever read that, one of the characters is much afraid. And when she is going to God in prayer, and I have learned from this, I try to do it every time I pray. She asked God, she said, please bind me on the altar of sacrifice. Bind me, that I might not be seen as struggling to do your will. God, you keep me from getting out of line so you don't strike me dead, basically.
This is exactly what the whole lesson is going, and where we're going for the next several lessons talking about God. This is what we're looking for. If we're going to have power with God, it's his power.
Yes.
It's not our power. And the way we have more power with God, we recognize more of who he is and what he is, give him the proper respect, and then he's willing to come back and help us. That's how we get it. And we have a hard time because we're humans and we want so much. We want so much, and we forget. He's got a whole higher, different order. His plan is not your personal enjoyment of the world above all else. That's not his plan. Yes, to enjoy it, yes. To have happiness and peace, yes. But that's not above all else. There's things that have to happen for that to be able to happen for other people. And you may have to go through things that they can have their share of peace and happiness and joy. And that your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren are able to have experiences that are based on what you went through. And because you went through it, they're able to go through what they're dealing with. And see, we lose track of that. We don't want to go through anything. We don't want to suffer anything. We don't want to have any misery. We don't have any wants unfulfilled. We don't want anything like that. And we get impatient with God because we don't see his picture. He wants souls added to the kingdom. Number one, before anything else, that's what he wants. He wants his children to choose him and come home. All the rest of it is a path to make that happen. And when you look at it from his perspective and his angle, it's going to change how we understand what God's doing. Yeah, I understand God, if, like Christ said, if there's a way I can get out of this, I would like to. But if you need this to happen, help me through it. Why? Because Christ knew what God was trying to do. In his case, he actually knew what God was trying to do, and he still wanted out of it if there was a way. Come on, he was living through a human body, even though his mind and soul knew. We need to understand who God is and reverence him for what he is and who he is. It will help our walk with God. It doesn't mean life will always be the easiest, but we'll at least have a better understanding from our heart of what God's trying to accomplish. And maybe a better cooperation and submissiveness from us on how we need to live to help him do what he's doing. And that when we're doing it right and we understand him more, when we go to him in prayer, we're really serious about things that he would want to happen. And that he answers prayer. He still answers prayer. He still does miracles. He doesn't do them as a magic show. They've got a purpose. Come on. But even Christ told you, you go to God the right way and ask for a mountain to be removed, he can move that mountain. He's still the same God. But we want too much just because it's something we want. And we don't care who it runs over or what it runs over. It doesn't even bother us. We just want what we want. God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. Let them be there for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. And God made two great lights. The great light of the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and he made the stars also. And God set them all in the firmament of the heaven to let light upon the earth, and to rule over day and over the night, and to give light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day. Now, something I found out interesting in studying, because I used to do a lot of studying of astronomy and looking at the planets and different solar systems and stuff like that. We're the only solar system we can find that centers around a sun and has a reflective moon off to the side that also reflects light back on the planet. He gave us light from two sources. One a direct light, one's a reflection of light. There's lots of other moons out there. There's lots of other stars out there. But they don't work like ours. And you know what? Since he created that and spoke that into existence, the sun's never went out. It's never stopped shining and doing what he told it to do. Oh man, it's like the sun's going to burn out in, pick a number. They make up all kinds of numbers. You know what? Every number I've heard of, I don't care. I'll be long gone. Everybody who could possibly remember the lineage back to me will be long gone before it could happen. It just doesn't matter. But he put that little moon out there that's only 93 million miles away from the earth, relatively close in spatial considerations. And you know what? It still goes around the earth at the angle he told it to, at the speed he told it to, and it still reflects light to the earth just right. Oh, but it's dark some nights. That's because clouds are out there. The moon's still there doing its job. Get on a plane, go up. Brother Mike's been in a bunch. I've been in a bunch. You get up above the clouds, there's always light. And the stars are super bright up above the clouds. And those stars, they're still there. God says, let it be so. Let it happen. It happens. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly moving creatures that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth. And the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and after every winged fowl after its kind. And God saw that it was good, and he blessed them. And he said, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the waters of the seas, and let fowls multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. He spoke all the aquarium into existence. The giant sea of the oceans of the earth, with they're still finding creatures in the ocean they've never seen before. Constantly finding new stuff. He spoke it all into existence. And he spoke a hierarchy. This kind feeds on this kind. 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 But guess what? That first one, it replenishes at an incredible rate. You can't eat it fast enough to eat it up. And so on and so forth. That's how he created it. And God said, let the earth bring forth a living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts on the earth after his kind, and it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw it was good. Let me tell you something. I was reading some stuff about some countries that have had a lot of ecological disasters. Really just wiped out, destroyed. And some islands that got really, really messed up because man went in and screwed it all up. And they said the only way for this to repair itself is for man to leave. So if man leaves in 100 years, it'll be back where it was. Why? God made it that way. The animals will do what they do. The birds will do what they do. The creatures of the sea will do what they do. It will come right back. And they've told about some that they've gone back after man hasn't been allowed on them for a long time, and it's almost totally restored itself. You know why? That's how God created it. The balance is there. Now, we've talked about this. They talk about this with hunters and with the wolves wanting to bring some back and different things that they want to allow happen. Why? God created some things for a balance. Yeah, they may be pest to us, but in the whole of nature, they keep things in balance. Because these ones kill off these ones, otherwise they'll get too many of these and they'll kill these off. And you need these for the crops to grow right. You need these for this to happen. But the way God created it, there's a balance. Man's the one who disrupts the balance, not God. He's got it designed how he wants it. And then God said, let us create man in our image, after our likeness. We think we're just some random evolution, that somehow nothing else evolved like man did. All the other evolutions that happened, they stopped a long time ago. But man evolved all the way into a thinking, reasoning human being that can do all kinds of creative things and everything, and no other creature came along this way. Oh, we think it's great. A monkey, we seen one use a stick as a tool. Come on, there's all kinds of stuff out there about this. And it's like, God created man. He gave us more than he gave them, or we wouldn't have it. He gave them what they needed to survive, to do what he needed them to do. But he created man to have a being who could worship him. So God created man in his own image, and in the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply. Oh, but I don't want any kids. Well, I guess you don't want to listen to God. He said, be fruitful and multiply. He didn't say, if you feel like it, be fruitful and multiply. He didn't say, if it's not inconvenienced with your lifestyle, and so that you can have a life where you have everything you want and you don't have no kids to take care of. That's not what he said. He gave mankind an order. See, come on, man gets right off track right at the beginning. Then the very first thing God tells him, man has a hard time with it. Oh, we don't want it. We'll kill him. We'll kill him off. We'll abort him. We don't want him. God said, be fruitful and multiply. Come on, we want to know what God we serve. This is the God we serve. He gave us things to do. Replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air, and over every living thing. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing tree in which is the fruit of a tree, yielding seed to you, and it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And so it was so. God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. In the evening, well, so we have a problem with this God. So whenever you get asked, and I will at some point, what's the first commandment God gave man? And it wasn't, there shall be no other gods before me. Be fruitful and multiply. That's the first commandment he gave. And it's the one that the world has a real hard time with. The world wants to kill them off because they're inconvenient. That was the first commandment. We're going to stop there for today, and we'll pick up there with our next lesson. But when you look at God and you start thinking about him, he's a whole lot different than us. The way he spoke things into existence. He formed man. I want him to be resemblance of me. It means in his image. Doesn't mean he's an exact copy of God or you'd be God. He made you in his image, so we can have some reasonable assurance. The God of heaven, probably his image has a reflection of a humanoid being with arms and legs. We made us in his image. What he looks like in that image, we have no idea. They say his glory is so bright you can't even look on him. But that's the image of him. When he sent Christ down, he didn't send him down looking like a tortoise. Come on. God created us in his image, in his likeness. I want something that resembles me a little bit. And we're going to get into that. That's going to be one of the things as we go down the road here. We're going to get into it a little bit. He wanted man to be able to reason and have choice. He has all kinds of you read Revelations, he has all kinds of beings up in heaven. And they worship him. Why? That's what they were made for. They were made to do that. We're the ones who have a choice.
You know, when Moses was with him, though, and when he came down, he was reflecting God. Put that veil on the spirit.
Yeah.
And that happens when we're in the presence of God. If you talk to Harold Donaker, when we got in that predicament, it was about this time of year. When I got out of that, it was the next day that I come up talking to Harold, while he was in here. But it was the next day in the shop, he said, it wasn't the fact that you got out, but I was looking at you in awe. It was the simple, he said, there was a glow. You had a glow about you. And that was just, it was the Lord, the strength that brought that truck up out of there.
Just being in his
It was
presence
nothing like
in
that.
that manner.
It was just, yeah.
His presence was there. Being in his presence was enough.
Had an effect on that man.
See, that's why I say we've got. I know it sounds like you're trying to make it bigger than it is. We're not even making it big enough.
No.
If we really get to where we start getting a grasp on who God is and what he is and understanding what he wants out of man, we won't have near as much trouble with a lot of things. They just won't be as important. Come on, a lot of this world that things would be so important to us just won't matter that much anymore. And when we go to God, we're not only going to want, yes, we're human, we're always going to have things we want, things we desire. That's going to be there. But we'll also want it in his will. Come on, I was young once too, a long time ago. And 16, 17, 18, you're looking for a companion. That's what you wanted. And you're praying, Lord, I want one, but I don't just want any old buddy. There's lots of any old buddies out there. I want one that'll stick. I want the right one. I want the one that'll keep me from going down the wrong path where I lose out. Because that matters more than anything else. I don't want one just to, I live with them all my life, and we lose your soul because you picked the wrong one. And you know what? In his time, okay, now it's time. Well, you really weren't ready for it. Even though you wanted it so bad, you weren't really ready for it yet. I know when you're ready and when they're ready. So, we'll pick up from there next lesson, but